What's the significance of the seven chakras on Dhyana Lingam? Does it have anything to do with Kundalini or is it something else?
You use the word Kundalini, some people think it's a film actress, okay? So, Kundalini is a word used to talk about energy in the system. See, right now I'm speaking, this is Kundalini, people are listening, that is also Kundalini. Dog is barking, that is also Kundalini. Wind is blowing, that is also Kundalini. So I am saying everything that drives the physical world is referred to as Kundalini. But when we refer to this in terms of human system, we are talking about generally, it is to be understood that we are talking about latent energy, unused energy. See, just an hour ago, the wind was not blowing with this force. Air was still there, but it was not blowing. Now it's blowing. What caused it? Well, just some differences. It is the same air. Nobody is blowing air from another space or another planet into this planet's atmosphere. Same atmosphere, it's placid or it becomes like this. Similarly, your energies can be placid, doing simple things, or it can rise and do things that you can't imagine. So we are talking about that latent energy which is unused or unmanifest but exists within us. Till it rises, you cannot believe it existed within you. It is always symbolized as a cobra, coiled up cobra. And its rise also is generally symbolized with the cobra's movement. Because generally, people see a cobra only when they step on it or something provokes it and it starts moving in a certain way. If it is sitting still, most people will not see it because it sits so still. It takes a special eye to see them. Otherwise, if it's simply sitting still, most people will not see it, they may be walking close by. If it sits still, they won't see it. So when cobra it moves out of provocation, it moves in a jerky way, bush, bush, you know. Everybody thinks snake is always doing bush, it's not always doing that. But when it's provoked, it breathes out like that. So, it is referred to as a live cobra which rises when provoked. So you can either raise it with provocation or raise it gently. So you will see in our programs, you must come, sir, sometime. In our programs, we will see people are sitting, some people are going crazy, oh, ooh, and all this. Some people are simply sitting still. Different ways in which Kundalini behaves, depending upon various aspects. Depends how big the rock is which is sitting on the coiled up snake. If the rock is very small, it'll put it aside and go smoothly. If it's big, it struggles and you will see all kinds of things happening. So the word Kundalini, essentially in usage, though in its larger context means something else, in usage, we are talking about that unmanifest energy within us which can rise. And when it rises, what you thought was humanly impossible becomes a living possibility. Above all, in the yogic system and also in the tantric systems, because they are not too different, we just call it yoga and tantra yoga. It is like science and technology, almost like that. Science is called yoga, technology is called tantra. Because tantra has become a very bad connotation today, we refuse to use that word because immediately tantra means people think all kinds of weird things. No, tantra means you're using the external to create an inner situation. Yoga means it's an inner discipline, completely internalized. In today's world, it is better it is internalized. Even today, after many years, only now I've brought a few rituals into the yoga center. Otherwise, this was completely a ritualistic process. Because a ritual is a fantastic thing. When the people who conduct it are a certain level of integrity, ritual is beautiful, colorful, it is something that everybody can participate in. Now if I teach meditation, few people will immediately fall into it very simply. Others will struggle, all they know is ankle pain, back pain, bum pain, whatnot. All kinds of things, that's all they know. They're striving still, but like that. Because not everybody is made the same way, they will need more application. Some people will settle down simply, some people will have to struggle. Everybody can get there one day, but some will need more application than the other. But a ritual is not like that, it is conducted by somebody. Just by participating you can benefit. But the problem with the ritual is it can be easily misused. So this is why rituals have got a bad name, because it's been so horribly misused over a period of time. So, first 20, 25, nearly, I would say, nearly 30 years, there has not been a single ritual here. It's only now in the last 8 to 10 years, there is Devi, there is some ritual, otherwise this place was completely a-ritualistic. Now we brought, because today I can proudly say we have created people here that you give them a mountain of gold, they're not even interested in looking at it. So rituals are possible. So, rituals are a beautiful way of doing things, but because of the bad, what to say, karma of misuse, it is to be done in a minimal way. If you can establish a very profound level of integrity, then you can do it. Otherwise, over a period of time, it'll be misused. Meditative processes, yogic processes are completely internalized. There is no chance of misuse. But at the same time, it is not as simple and easy and mass production as a ritual. It is very individual, it takes so much time to instruct them, takes so much time to make them understand, takes much more time to commit them for long-term participation, because if you teach them something, there are… the percentage of people continuing to doing the inner engineering practices is very high compared to most other places on the world… on the planet. But still, there are thousands and thousands of people who say, Sadhguru, first 3 months I did Shambhavi, it was so wonderful, I got so busy, then I gave it up. So these kind of people are thousands, because to teach them it takes so much time, to get them committed it takes so much time. For them to remain committed, you have to constantly keep in touch, running satsangs all over the world. It's a lot of expense, pain and work to keep them committed to their well-being.
You've already answered this, but let me ask even then. What's it with the Naga, the Cobra? We are sitting in front of one. I have not been to the Isha Center in Bengaluru, I understand. Naga is very important there. Nagas are very important to Shiva. So what is it with Nagas?
See, wherever there has been mysticism, wherever there has been extrasensory perception, there always the snake is. If you look at any ancient culture, if you look at African occult, it's full of snakes. If you look at Christian mysticism, even Moses is carrying a snake-like stick because he couldn't carry a cobra, by the time they took it from India, it would be dead, and they're in a desert. So, something related to the snake is always there. There's no Indian temple without a snake image. Wherever there is a Jyotirlinga, that means there is some cascade of grace, there is light for people, there will be a downward moving snake, at least one snake in the temple somewhere. All of them will be this way, one will be like this. Here in Dhyanalinga you see there are many downward flowing snakes, because this is to indicate the cascade of grace. Here we have the advantage of being at the foothills of Velagiri mountains. It is called the Kailash of the south. Shiva himself, the legend says he spent over 3.5 months here in a very different kind of mood and mode. And so it acquired a very special quality and it bred a completely different kind of mysticism around this mountain. So we are in a cascade of grace and plus Dhyanalinga together, it is a big cascade of grace. And we are at 11 degrees latitude, which is very important because of the tilt that the planet has and the spin it has. The maximum amount of centrifuge happens at approximately 11 degrees latitude, and we are sitting right on that right now. So that means there's a natural upsurge of energy, all this put together. About the snake, particularly about the cobra, I must tell you, there were times when earlier in my life, when I sat in the jungles around Mysore or in different parts of Western Ghats, I don't know why, because everybody traditionally they meditate either in the morning or in the night or in the evening. I always meditated in the afternoon. I don't know why, at that time I just meditated always in the afternoon. If I sit for a few hours and open my eyes, 12-15 cobras would be sitting right in front of me. Because they have this perception, the moment the energy shifts, they love it and they're there. So, about Adiyogi or Shiva carrying a cobra around his neck, it is a reptile, a crawly creature, it should be at least down there, but no, it's right up till here, right next to him. In a way, Shiva is making a point, he's as good as me in perception, because perception is the core of yoga. Without perception, what do you know? If you were blind, how many things would you know? If you were deaf, how many things would you know? If you couldn't feel, how many things would you know? Just like that, perception is the basis of who we are right now. How profound is your perception determines how profound is your experience of life and how profound is your knowing. So entire thing is about perception. All sadhana is about enhancing your perception, not enhancing your knowledge. It's about enhancing your perception. When I walk on the street, I'm more ignorant than a village bumpkin. I know nothing. But my lights are on, because you need to see, you don't have to think. Everybody thinks they need to think. Thinking means what? Recycling what little we already know. Waste of time. If you're thinking all the time, you must know you're just wasting away your life, recycling the same things that you have known for a long time. What you read, what you saw in your childhood, you're still thinking about it. What somebody said, you're still thinking about it. What you said, you're still thinking about it. Endlessly thinking means you're just recycling things that you already know. That means you're not interested in perception. You are trying to make something out of yourself. You do not still know the value of nothingness. You're trying to make something out of yourself. You're trying to build an image of what it is. So perception is the core of yoga. Perception is the core of mysticism. Perception is the core of Tantra. Without perception, there is nothing. Everybody is perceiving what the eyes can see, but to perceive that everybody cannot see or fail to see is the important thing. So, for example, a cobra which is right now in Wellingary Hills, if there is going to be, not happening, if there is going to be an earthquake, let's say in California, I'm saying California because it's almost directly opposite, on the other side of the planet, the cobra will start behaving in different ways. Right now in China, they have made an institute where to detect earthquakes, just observing snakes, if you just observe them, if you learn to read their movements and behavior, if there is going to be an earthquake, you already know. Because they are so sensitive, because they are stone deaf, they are ear to the ground, literally, their whole body is to the ground, feeling every tremor. So it's not only about tremors in the earth, but they have a different level of perception. This perception gives them an extraordinary sense about certain energies. So naturally, you will see lots of videos going around in the social media these days, how huge snakes are encircling linga somewhere in one temple and it comes at a certain time. Whatever, some things may be staged, but it is not an empty legend, there is sense to it, because I'm telling you in my own experience, if I sit and become in a certain way, they would gather around me. This has been the experience of every yogi that they came. Many yogis always carried a cobra. So probably Moses heard about it from people who are going from here, because Indian traders and yogis have been going to that part of the world for over 8 to 10,000 years. To such an extent, cities were built just on the taxes that were levied on Indian traders, like Aleppo is one city which is unfortunately in ruins, Palmyra is another city. These were all built only on the taxes levied on Indian traders. To that extent, people were going, traveling in those days over… Even if you take from Gujarat, which is the westernmost part of present India, it was nearly 3,000 plus kilometers or miles. And still people travel to that extent, streams of trading goods were going, and along with that yogis and mystics, everybody traveled. So having a snake will give you extra sensory perception, so people carried snake-like sticks and walked around. All these things are there, but the important thing is, there are… because they're all young people, I hesitate to say certain things. Particularly in Himachal, also in some parts of Western Ghats, in the east, around Visakhapatnam, in that area, there are yogis who generally have… they may carry a cobra with them, but these days no. They usually have green glass bangles on their left hand, and they have… if you observe them closely, they have blocked off their right nostril with beeswax for one solar cycle, 12.25 years. Only one nostril breathing. Normally it'll kill you, because one way of noticing death is coming is your breathing will shift to just one nostril. Doesn't shift from one to another every 40 minutes as it should. It stays on one nostril, that means death is coming normally. But they use this process to rise above that, to rise above one's mortality, to rise above the physical body, to sit here not being a body, so they block off their right nostril, breathe only through the left. So if you see a yogi like that, with bangles, green bangles on his left hand, and he looks little freaky, but he has no beeswax in his right nostril, he is a man you should not miss, he is worth being with. But if you see him still with beeswax, he is still work in progress.